Are you considering buying a home but feel stressed, overwhelmed, don't know what the hell a BINSR is, don't know your closing date, just all these random things about buying a house? In this video, we're gonna cover all of that. Stay tuned. So we're about to go through the steps on buying a home. Before we do that, I just wanna make sure that you understand there are so many benefits to buying a home. I know some of this can feel a little bit overwhelming, a little bit stressful, but I promise you it is all worth it. I actually have a video on that, so if you're not sure if you should get a home or not, make sure to go check that one out, maybe even first, and then bounce back to this one. What the hell should I expect when buying a home? That's a question I get asked all the time, and today we're gonna go through the whole process, from the approval to what happens after you close on the home. We're gonna go through it all. So if you wanna jump to a specific part of this video, I'll have all the information below so you can jump to the part that fits what you want. Step one, getting pre-qualified. There's a lot of factors when getting approved for a home, and so the only way to really know what you can qualify for is to go through the process. But let's go through that. Let's break that down. What can you expect during this process? The first one is credit score. It's probably the biggest question I get asked is, what does my credit need to be to buy a home? Your credit needs to be at least 640. However, 740 is where you get all the perks and you get the best interest rates and so forth. So I would really push to have a 740. Next is your job history. You have to have at least 2 years of taxes to prove your income. Now, a lot of times you need to have job history of a certain length, but it depends on your loan that you're approving for, on how long you have to be at your job. So again, check with your lender on that. Next is your income and your debt to income ratio. This is, simply put, how much you can qualify for when you buy a mortgage. Essentially, it's what do you make after taxes. So for example, let's just say you're making $8,000 a month, all right? And let's say you got credit card payments and car payments that total up to $1,500. So what's left? $6,500. Out of that $6,500, you can only qualify for half of what's left. So on that example, you would have roughly $3,000 that you could afford for a house payment. When calculating this math, don't worry about your rent payments or your utility payments. Those are not factored. It's more of your credit cards, car payments, furniture payments, things of that nature. Whatever's left, half of that essentially is what you can get approved for. So I know I covered a lot through this financing piece. However, I really suggest, if you don't know where you're at, you think you maybe have a little bit of rough credit or some of these things are a little bit rough, make sure to game plan way out in advance. Talk to a loan officer today. I mean, even if you're 2 years out, because this way you can have a game plan and you can really start working on what is going to improve your credit score and all of the things that are needed for a great mortgage. I think it's important at this part to say, don't wait for the right interest rate. Just focus on what you can afford now and go buy the house. You can always refinance if the interest rate does drop, but no one has a crystal ball. No one really knows what's gonna happen in the future regarding interest rates. Step two, make sure you find a knowledgeable, experienced real estate agent. Obviously me. No, but in all seriousness, why is this important? Once you know exactly what you can qualify for on a monthly basis and what you feel comfortable affording, now it is time to get really serious on what your options are that fit your lifestyle, which is why it's important to have a great agent that really knows the areas. Step number three, touring homes. Why is this so important? I know a lot of realtors don't really like to walk a lot of homes with clients, but I'm actually the opposite. Especially if you're newer to home buying, I want you to go walk 5 homes, 10 homes. Why? There's something that happens when you walk more homes. Like a lot of times when you walk your first house, I see it all the time. They walk a home and they're like, I would never pay this amount of money for that house. 5 homes later, they're like, oh my God, I should have bought the first house. It was such a great buy, because now they have perspective, right? Because they've walked different homes in that same price point. Now you get a really good understanding of what you're getting for the money. On the flip side of that, we have to make sure We are not just walking homes forever looking for the exact perfect house, because that exact perfect house never exists. The idea is to get about 85–90% of what you love in the house, what you need, what fits your lifestyle. There's always going to be 10 or 15% that you got to deal with or change. Ideally it's something that you could just change and make 100% your home, right? But no home is ever going to be 100% of what you're looking for. So don't get caught up looking for that exact perfect house that never exists and you'll never find. It's like a unicorn. Step number 4, making the offer. Once you find the house you like, it's time to make that offer, baby. But depending on the market, depending on the exact home you're looking at, there's so many factors. What's the right strategy of putting the offer? Is it a market where I have to put an offer in higher than the asking price? Is there wiggle room? Can I negotiate a lot? Can I get a really good deal? Again, obviously this is where a really good real estate agent comes in, but you really need to brainstorm on what's best for this particular situation. One thing I'll be mindful of, just dealing with a lot of buyers, try to leave the emotions a little bit out of it when it comes down to the money phase. Why do I say that? Obviously, every buyer wants to buy it for as low as possible. Every seller wants to sell it for as high as possible. So keep that in mind, right? Make sure to really, really evaluate the comps. Really look at what's selling around the area and really investigate the actual true price of the home. This way, you're using a lot of logic, and obviously, look, I invest in homes. I want the best deal. But if it's a home that you really love, it fits your lifestyle, make sure to think about that when putting the offer in. Step 5, after you have an accepted offer, what the hell do you do? The first thing you need is your earnest money deposit. That's actually due the following day after your accepted contract. Typically, that's 1.5% of the purchase price. So just for an example, at $450,000, it'll be roughly $6,500 that they would expect to have the next day. Right after your earnest money deposit, you need to get with your realtor and figure out what kind of inspections are needed on the home. You at least need a general inspection for sure. If the AC is really old though, if the roof is like really old, you may think about getting a specialized roofer to come check out the roof. You're not talking that much money. It's definitely worth it. I mean, it's a huge purchase. You want to make sure to stay on top of this though, because you typically only have 10 days to get back to the seller. That means you have to have the inspections done and the reports back to you to be reviewed and your strategy done so you can respond within the 10 days. That brings us to step 6, the BINSR. What the hell is the BINSR? That just means the buyer inspection notice and seller to respond. This process, the buyer gets the chance to label everything that they want fixed to the seller. You have to be very careful though, because if you do want repairs, you get one shot to say everything that you would like fixed. The seller then gets one opportunity to say what they will or will not fix, and the buyer, lastly, can just say yes or no. Yes, I accept what you're going to repair, or no, I won't. If you say no, that means you're going to fall out of contract. So as you can imagine, your real estate agent should be doing a lot of negotiations through this process behind the scenes. Another reason why the BINSR is very important is because after this part, once the buyer and seller agree on what they will and will not fix on the home, it's harder to get your earnest money back that you deposited in the beginning. Step 7, getting your cleared to close. What does that mean? Simply put, this is where you go to work with your mortgage company to get all the documents in place so you're cleared to close and your mortgage will be in place. Through this process, do not go buy furniture. I've had it before where people go buy washing machines or furniture and they put it on credit, not realizing that that's going to jack up their credit before they're cleared to close, and it's messed up our whole deal before. So just make sure that you're very diligent. You don't do anything without asking your mortgage company. That brings us to step 8, which is your final walkthrough. And it's just as it sounds. You just want to take a tour of the home briefly before it closes to make sure all the repairs that both parties agreed on are done before you close. That brings us to step 9, which is closing day. Very exciting moment. I'm sure it's going to be a roller coaster of emotions. What am I doing, the right thing, the wrong thing? You know, how am I going to unpack all this stuff, right? But I would just suggest that you give 2 or 3 days after closing before you schedule all of your stuff to be moved in, just in case there is something that delays the closing day. I've had that before where, you know, the closing day, they had all the moving trucks and everything show up. Now they're sitting there waiting until the home records, and I can even give them the keys. So make sure you give a little bit of time gap in there, so this way you don't get that problem. Also, make sure to turn on all of your utilities for the day of closing, so that way nothing goes with no water or anything like that. Simply enjoy the house. I would recommend a couple things. Get yourself set up on something that's going to show your home value, because although it doesn't matter today, in a year or 2 years or 3 years, it's really cool to see how much you've paid off and how much equity you have. The other reminder would be to set reminders on your phone for the maintenance that needs to be done on things like your AC units, the roof, just little random things like that. Other than that, enjoy the home and have a lot of fun. I hope these simple steps really helped you understand the buying process better, but I'm curious, below, go ahead and comment what stresses you out about buying a home. And obviously, if you're looking to buy in the Phoenix metro area, I'd love to be the guy to help you out. But if you found value in this video, go ahead and like and subscribe for more content just like this.